with a square with a bowl. That's where I'm headed. Now, I practiced. I did that one yesterday. I had to remember what I was going to try and show y'all. And I was only 50%. So if you cut through on the square turn bowl, you end up with an extra big funnel. But actually, you got to get the wire in there if you're going to do like a lamp. So there's all kinds of things. And this just, Jimmy Arledge always taught me, hey, you didn't mess up. It's just design opportunity presenting itself to you. So you get a hollow square turn bowl and a mini bowl. So it's all just in your imagination anyway, right? So you don't have to always do things that are square to be square turning, or we also another name for this is winged bowls. So, because these are the wings. And this one that I'm demonstrating tonight, you'll notice that the bowl doesn't touch. It isn't like that, although you can make them like that. It's up to you. If you want the wings to come out here and be a little flatter and have it sit on the bottom of a bowl, you can build it that way. But basically, I'm never going to touch these corners. I'm going to leave that alone. It's just turning this face and this face. And if I was doing a rectangular one, I'd start with a block like that. So I brought some pieces and I'll send them around. There's a lot of variations. Some of these are mine. Some of these belong to other people. How many of y'all know Jimmy Clues? Yeah, square turned. That's one of mine. It's a little bit bigger. I guess I can send these around if you want to take a look at them. And Jimmy Clues' fine work. I'm sure he won't mind if we show it to him. And I've got another one. Oh, I had another one. There it is. So this is Steve Wooster. And that's probably Cocobolo. And I think he might have been making a lid for something, but he gave us that, and that was something I picked up at one of the DAW Christmas auctions. And so I don't know, some of y'all might have seen a guy at SWAT a couple years ago, and he did something like that, but he cut off 3 of these wings here off the top and carved them down. So you end up with, 4 down, 1 up. So you can do that off of this. You don't have to stay with this. You can start carving off some of the wings. So don't mind this one. I've had it for a long time and I dropped it and shipped it and split it. So, but just kind of give you an idea of some of the stuff that you might can do with square turning. And Cedar Elm. How many of y'all know Corey White? So I took a Corey White class this year, and he taught me how to do this dry brush stuff. So I had this, Murray Stein gave me this piece of wood. Good old Murray. You guys remember Murray? And originally I just had it burned. And then I learned this. I said, you know what? That pyrography is ugly. Let's try something different. So I ground it all off and did this one. So this one's hard maple. And it's actually got an indent in the back where I could regrip that and turn it again if I want to. So this is where we're headed. Nah, not going to paint the one on the back. I'm too lazy. So, just some ideas to get your imagination going on what you can do with this kind of a technique. So I start for safety's sake with this stuff. I'll find the center and I drill a little 3/8 hole. Now, if you used all of these threads on here, you might be a little deep. So I made a couple of little washers from some plywood so I that screw doesn't go too darn deep into the piece. Because when you're doing the underside of that thing, you know, you don't want to hollow too deep. And that kind of gives you an idea. So everybody's familiar with using a screw chuck, I'm assuming, with this kind of thing. So some people do this with the lathe on. That's too scary for me, especially with corners. I see people would do round bowls and just put them on the and I'm like, no thanks. Anybody do that? Anybody ever do that? No? You guys are safe, huh? All right, so now we got a safely mounted block, and this face is parallel to that face. And so these corners are actually going to be what the bowl ends up feet stand down on. And I do need the drive. One of the important things to do, there's a live center in here somewhere, huh? There it is. Okay, so it's the way I do this is really important that you have the other center besides the screw. You need this one too. And I think that becomes more apparent later down the demo. Okay. So now I'm magic. It may not be exactly true. You can true up that side face if you want to. I probably won't. So a lot of this out here on the edges, you're cutting intermittently. So the cutter's passing through air and then it's hitting wood and it's doing that. You sure you want to sit there? Do you trust me? That feels like air conditioning, isn't it? Yeah. I like to turn fast, especially when I know I'm very secure like this. And the first thing I want to do is create a tenon so that when I flip it around, I can grip it and then I can do the hollowing on the other side. So I'm just going to start with some kind of. Where's the camera? If I put it here, that's good. Can you see? I can't see. That's good. Okay, so it's a regular grind, and I just cut me a little relief there and made the bevel smaller. I don't want that heel sticking into the tight corner down there so much. It's not on. Do I have to push this button? No, I don't have a button or a picture. Oh, wait a minute. Now it's green. I mean, blue. No signal. Wait a minute. Oh, wow. You know what? If we put the cable in, maybe it'll get a signal. Does it say in? It's even easier than two. Sorry about that. How about the other way? There. Wow. Oh. There's that blue. Looks like a American Beauty. Ah, bingo. All right. So I'm just going to kind of inch my way back to the edge and go a little bit deeper. And a little bit skinnier. You can see where that corner is. I use my little parting tool to make sure I got my tenon nice and square. So there's part one. And so I got a little flat spot on each little foot here for it to sit on. I guess you could go all the way out to the point if you wanted to and have it sit on needle feet. It's up to you. You know, I like a little flat spot there. And so I'm done with the screw chuck now. And see, these things go quick. So for empty bowls, this is a cool little project. I made a mess of these last year for empty bowls in Dallas. 15 or 20 of them anyway. Because they go, I mean, and it's big enough, you know, so they got to be 5 inches. Well, I get to measure across the diagonal a little bit bigger. See, you can tell me how big they got to be. I get to tell you how I measure. Is that fair enough? It all depends on how you measure. Isn't that true with bowl gouges and stuff, if it's from England or not? Oh, I should loosen that up. I need to spin that off first. All right, so we can put it in here and grip it this way now. And I'm sure you all know about chucks, but you know, I feel duty bound on safety points to make sure that each one of the, you're not really holding it by squeezing the hell out of it. You're holding it because of the geometry and these flat faces on the jaws, and that you have a nice square register there to your piece. If you look over here and you see any gap in here, you need to recut that till it fits the way it's supposed to. Okay, so we will, since Sharon's sitting there, I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit. If I cut through, that's coming at you. So don't cut through, Kevin. I did that yesterday, so it's probably off the table for today. I'm wondering if those are my magnets from last time. All right. So now we can kind of move to start cut. Thank you for bringing all that back. Start going slow. So now if you look down there, you can kind of see the outline of the inside cut. You know, I probably went too deep and too straight, and probably be more attractive if it was a little more of a happy face. Like this one with a nice smooth curve instead of being kind of angled there. But it's too late to fix that. Wasn't thinking. Okay, so here we go and get some more speed up. I probably should put my face shield on, shouldn't I? I had it. It's hanging right here. There it is. Hey, it's full of sawdust. I'm so glad I cleaned that this afternoon. Okay. I don't know what's more dangerous, not having a face shield on or not being able to see what you're doing. So I can see what I'm doing. I mean, tolerance on this is pretty thin. Wow, that's tight. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm just going to nibble off the corner of this over here. And then you can kind of just start chasing that curve. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to make a smooth cut. Can you hear me? Trying to make a smooth cut, and faster RPMs help that. And it's a small piece of wood. Just there's no vibration here. Why not turn with a little more speed? Right. Yeah. Well, I kind of like to go as fast as, that's maybe slightly excessive. I will say this. I was talking to Alan Lacer a year or two ago, and he done a lot of expert witness stuff on accidents that happen on lathes. Speed is always a factor when people get hurt. So before you go this fast, make sure the thing's balanced. You don't want this thing vibrating, or, at the first sign of that, slow down. But I'm just going to basically follow that same. See, now I think if you got your camera in the right spot, you can see the thickness between the inside edge and the outside edge. I don't want to touch that, but so I'm just going to keep taking that down until I get it as thin as I feel like. Depends on how good I can see today. I start with the gouge pretty closed, and once I get into the cut a little bit, I'll open it just slightly. I don't get too crazy about. I don't go in there wide open to begin with. I want to be kind of closed and just ease into that thing. Line up the bevel. I'm looking right down the bevel and right down where the line I want to cut on. So I'm looking straight down the bevel. And this is where I got in trouble and cut through the other day, because I didn't realize how thin I'd gotten up here. So now I can look down and I can see the outside edge of the bowl at the top. And so that's kind of what I'm aiming for. And I think we're somewhere around there. That needs to be inside all the square parts. So there's that edge. There's that edge. They line up pretty good. Looks like it's a little higher on that side than that side. A little bit thicker there. Okay, so maybe one small little pass extra. So it looks a lot thinner here than when you stop it. I don't know why that is, but it does. I mean, it looks like it's an eighth of an inch thick, and you get it stopped, and it's like a quarter. Man, it's hot coming off of there. I knew I wanted to bring that glove. I guess I didn't. Okay, so here I might do a little bead, teeny little bead. Just give it a little definition. And a teeny little bead back the other way. And now we can start hollowing. It's all over but the crying now. What am I doing wrong, John? I see John's laughing at me. I just don't know why. Did I get a catch? I haven't seen one yet. Oh, when it was rattling around there? That's because these wings are so skinny. I like green wood. It doesn't burn. I don't know. I've never tried one of these with green wood, and because you kind of need it to be stable. Right through the center. Let's see how we're coming here. Yeah, it looks like a bowl. Okay, so now we've only got one secret left to tell. It's time to sand this, by the way, this little rough stuff here. And I guess I should have made a little bit cleaner cut. I guess I could go back and, yeah, why not? It's only Sharon sitting there. Okay. Well, I'm gonna barely touch this. I'm just gonna use a little bit of a. I'm just gonna use a little bit of a one of those kinds of cuts just to kind of get rid of that bobble right there. So yeah, that cleaned it up pretty good. I'm not going back down there, just right there. So now I've got my bowl here. I do like, man, where'd all my tools go? Oh, there it is. I do like Jimmy's old timey. Let's see, there we go. Old timey bowl gouge with a micro bevel. I'm gonna set it on top of the wood. Can you see that? So that's a very flat grind there, and then just getting rid of the heel again so it doesn't drag across the bottom. I like that cutting across the bottom. I think it cuts a lot cleaner for me than I kind of get a little on the edge even with the on the winged bowl gouge. Well, you sand the wings by hand or with I have a little random orbital sander, a Grex. And so that's what I use. And most of the time on these, I don't bother sanding them until they're finished. You want to go sanding in there on the other side, you get another shot at that. I mean, I'm fixing to flip it around again. I just want to get rid of that little flat spot in the bottom. And I'm trying to have a nice smooth curve all the way around on the bowl side. Okay, so there's not much left to do, really. I mean, like I said, I don't know how I'm going to make this last an hour and a half. Yeah, probably. Yeah, we got time for that. Think so? Well, let me finish this one first. Well, hang on now. I'm going to take off the foot. It's the third secret, you know. First one's mounting it, second one's flipping it around onto the thing, and then okay, so the reason for having that hole there is the secret is because I'm going to use just a little block of wood. It's got a little curve on the bottom. Part of it's missing. I'm going to put this in here. So, I mean, there's all kinds of what people call jam chucks. So I'm just going to set this in here. Bring the tailstock back up. So if it was going to sit on the bottom, it'd be on this surface, right? Because that's where those legs are. That was all flat across there. By not touching the legs, when I take this off, it's going to suspend the bowl. And it does get a little tricky here because these are really bad finger choppers. So you don't want to get in front of the tool rest even a little bit. Yeah. The other place you want to be careful is here because if there's a potential of going through down here on the bottom, but maybe not so much. Okay, so right now, if I stop that, have some kind of a straight edge, that'll work. So this is going to tell me about how far the bowl is going to be suspended. Basically from that edge to wherever I stop here. Now, you don't on this because it's dry wood instead of green wood. You'd want to make sure that you had all these edges would all have to be the same thickness, you know, because wood's going to move differently, especially when it's wet and it's losing water. Well, this guy's so dry, I don't think we're going to lose anything. Dimensionally, I think it's very stable. So, I mean, I can leave it like that. I can go probably a little bit further down if I wanted to, but I think I'm just going to take off the nib there and call it a day for that bowl and give it to y'all for your empty bowls. So when I do that, Oh, that's a Sorby. I thought it was a Benjamin's Best. How about that? So, this guy I'm just going to use to get in here. It's very pointy, so I can get in here and make that skinny and just a little point down at the end of this. And since I'm pinched, I don't want to throw that off. So I may be a little more conservative about how far I go down here. Here again, you don't want to get between that and that. That's probably close enough. Sharon's sitting there. I don't want to hurt Sharon. You'll appreciate that, do you? All right, so there you go. There's a who's gonna catch it? Sharon. All right. So there you are. There's your winged bowl, or a freestanding square turned bowl. If I get picky about the design of it, I mean, they're probably a little too steep here and a little not as nice and voluptuous type curves as I usually like to see, but it is what it is. So, and the nice thing about turning is that I always have another piece of wood. See, I like the shape of this one much better, but I blew it up. So now it's going to be the feet for a lamp, I think. Something, design opportunity. And I do happen to have one more piece of wood. Now, do you want one with wings that where the bottom's the bottom and the wings to float above? Or do you want a rectangle? I already drilled the holes for either one, so they're set. Okay, so the other thing, when I do angels, the wings I do angels with, I just put them, it's square turning too. You just take a little piece of wood, and I'm just on the stem center on this side and that side, and I do the wings. I mount off center. Okay, so instead of here, I'd be mounted up here for angel wings. Okay, which gives you a long side and a short side. So the long side is one side of her curve, wing here, and then to get the kick at the bottom of the wing, you cut back there on this part where it's longer. Flip it over, chase it again, chase that same curve. And now you've got the basic outline of your wing, and then you can draw and carve in the actual wings. The one side you'll want to get rid of, the outside of the wing, you'll want to get rid of the little nib there. On the inside, you have a nib that mounts on her back of the piece you turn. That's how I do angel wings. So it's square turning. It's the same stuff. The rectangle? Well, I haven't practiced that one. Wait a minute. I did a long time ago with that one, but Sharon's sitting here. I'm not going to do anything bad with her sitting there. I mean, now if that was John, the first time I ever demoed here, John was here, of course, and he's sitting right there. And he had grown his beard long, and he was ready for his Santa Claus trick. And I was nervous enough. I mean, I hadn't demoed but a few times back then. And I said, this is nerve-wracking enough. But when Santa's sitting there watching his little elf, it's almost impossible to do a demo. So I always appreciated that, John. Thank you very much. So, yes, I know it. Yeah, but you were attentive. You were giving it the eye. What now? Why did you do that? Heck, I don't know why. I just do. All right, so I threw it back here, didn't I? This guy. How many of y'all turn bowls with this all the time? All the time. All the time. You didn't learn your lesson, Chris?
Well,
Did you share with this one your
I'll clarify, I use a certain size bowl and then I go to a big plate.
one of the things that you got to realize with this screw is that's forcing the wood out like that. It's putting pressure out on the wood. If you've got any kind of a defect in here, crack wise, it's liable to bust out. So he was using a fairly large piece and he put the screw on it and he kind of found out what the limitations of that screw is. The piece split in half, broke, glancing blow to your arm, right? And this piece right here on a big Powermatic, the 24-inch Powermatic, that piece of wood came off, hit that, and snapped it.
Well, no, it didn't hit that. I was actually using the safety cage.
Oh, you had the safety cage. Oh, it hit the safety cage. So there was actually more leverage than just hitting this. Okay. Well, that makes more sense. Snap that piece of steel off right like that. Yes, lots of energy. So, like I said, be aware that these screw chucks aren't 100%. I mean, there's a certain amount element of danger in everything we do on a lathe, and be sure and check your wood. I'm mainly on something like that would be a little hairline crack in here in the face of the wood, and especially if you're producing your own wood. If you're going out and chucking it out, because trees are full of defects. Trust me, it is so hard to produce that piece of wood. I have a whole new appreciation for wood production.
In my case, there was no defect. The grain is so straight.
Very straight.
Force of that big bowl split it.
Yeah, but see, as I'm screwing that on, that's actually pushing against this fiber this way. So if you have a defect in there, it might show up. And you hadn't even touched it with a tool yet, right? That just blew up when you started up the lathe. Thank goodness, Okay. So same principles apply. I'm gonna go ahead and come up here and put my point on it. Haven't done one of these in a long time. I want you guys to know that. A vacuum chuck. I have used a vacuum chuck before, but it's just something else to spend a lot of money on that you probably don't really need. You use it all the time, though, don't you? A lot of people do. If you have it and you use it and you love it, I got nothing against it. I just, I've turned with them, and then invariably, my wood will have a hole in it, and so it doesn't. Yeah, it's not doing it right. Or if there isn't a hole in it, of course I'll make one. Somebody told me that everything I did had a hole in it. If it didn't have a hole, you'd make one, right? Okay, here we go. Throwing sawdust at you. Look at you get logger's dandruff. Huh? Well, not on her, it ain't. That's girl glitter. Wood turning girl glitter. Lady with the lathe glitter. I think I will wear this time. In case you show it to AAW or somebody. I'd hate to get on their bad list. So first thing is to make the tenon. Or at least where the tenon's going to be. And I can start working back here on the bottom side. I always pretty much start in where I'm fairly closed, or closed, absolutely. And once I get a little start for the tool, then I can kind of open it up. And the reason for that is I don't want the tool to skate back and knock my feet off. Of course, we're going to suspend this one up above. So I can actually start out here now. I'm going to take off the wings. That would hit the ground. All right, so this is going to be the bottom of my bowl here. Um, Woo! I like that. Yes. Yeah. What I'm going to do, let me, so this is a bowl, and this is like just a slab of wood that like the bowl got stuck through. So the thinness of the wing is kind of arbitrary. I mean, I'm just trying to make this parallel to this. And when I reverse it here, oops, going to be that way about it, huh? Sometimes they can get on there pretty darn tight. Okay, so basically my next step, here's your picture here. Here's camera. There is I'm going to take the top off to chase that curve. Okay, so when I mount this up in here, so I'm reversing it. Made that. So sometimes I even, I don't mind like this rough sawn edge here. I have done them with natural edges. I left one at the shop that was natural edge here, here, and around the top of the bowl. So there's, it's infinite. Whatever you see that you like, make it. I mean, it's only wood, and if you don't like it, you can always throw it in the fireplace. Okay, so I'm going to have a lot more wing here because the bowl's way down here. So I got a lot more cutting out here on the edge. So that'll be exciting for Sharon. You're sitting there covered all with sawdust. This is great. So if you got an overhead view of this, okay, so can you see the lines, the shadow and the curvature of the bottom of the wing? And that's basically, what is that making that noise? Is that this? What is that? It's just because I'm that far out of balance. Okay. Proper propeller sound there. So I'm just going to nibble off the corner a little bit. So by where I position myself, and I got the tool down on my hip, I got it locked up here, I could just kind of lean into it. I don't have to shove it with my hands and arms and just kind of lean into it. And I look straight down that bevel's pointing that direction. So whichever way that bevel's pointing, that's the direction you cut. And if your bevel and the cut and the push is all in the same plane there, you'll make a pretty nice cut usually. The tool sharp. Now, right now, you can kind of see that I'm not parallel. See, it's shaped like a wedge. I'm as skinny as I'm going to get there. Oops, got a little tear out there. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what happens with straight grained wood. So I need to take this a little skinnier up through here, and maybe I get rid of some of that, but there's going to be a little chunk out of that. So try and use wood that doesn't like to chunk so much. This is probably something off a construction site. See if we're getting there now. A little bit more, hey? Got rid of most of it. A little chip there, a little chip there. So when you sand and you can kind of grub out some of that stuff if you want to. I'm gonna make my bowl a little bit smaller, I think. Yeah, got a little bit, about maybe a quarter of an inch or so. I'll make my wing just a little bit thinner on the top. I'm all the way back closed again when I get up to that edge. And perhaps a little bead, maybe. Yeah, okay. Don't tell them at AAW about that either. All right. Now it's just the easy part. Making the bowl. See, the reason for me to switch to that, I hate to call it that, but John Holderman's ruined me. And he calls this little thing the bottom feeder. Does that Mike Mahoney calls it that too? Well, that's like a carp or some nasty fish like that. Bottom feeder. It's not a bottom feeder. But when I get down here, starting about right there to keep on the bevel, I got to keep moving this way. So I guess I can do that, but it's a whole lot easier and still get a nice clean cut across there. That's not too bad. But it's easier with that, and the handle position isn't so extreme. So, okay. That bead's kind of giving me a little guidance so I don't cut through and see, because right there, I'm not on the bevel there. I got to be here to be on the bevel. Sometimes we think we're on the bevel, but we're not. Ain't that right, Pete? Lots of times. Okay, so this bowl's got to be deeper because the bottom's way the heck down there. So I guess I got to make a little more steeper walled here. Bottom feeder, indeed. Pardon me?
And explain what it is, how you use it on the bowl.
Okay, so my bevel's that way. It's a very, what's that, like maybe 80 degrees or something? And then I grind away the heel. So that makes it easy to slide that bevel across the bottom. I only have to be like this position to be going across the bottom. Whereas with this gouge, I got to be there to be going across the bottom. Because it doesn't have any wings, and the angle of the bevel on the nose here is so much steeper. So, we all have one of the cool things about turning, you just buy the lathe. That's the cheap part. You start running into real money when you start buying all this stuff. So, I just find it easier to get to the bevel on these bowls with a tool like this. And I've got this one, and I got one that's a 1/2 inch, and I hardly ever use. I love this tool. It's my favorite, one of my favorite tools that I have. I love that thing. I don't know what happens when I grind it down to there. I guess I have to go buy another one, don't I? Ah, okay. It's a little bit deeper. I think there's still a little bit there. Yeah, happy. Okay, so I've got lots of wood here. So basically, I want the bottom of the bowl to be, about where my jaws were resting. Don't want to get too far past that. I've got lots of thickness in this bowl though, so but it's gonna sit, somewhere in there like that. So same thing, same little block of wood. The critical thing here, like I said, is making sure that you get that little point to begin with. Otherwise, if you just cut the tin in and go about it, you'll never get this thing back straight. It'll always have some kind of wobble in it and it get wonky on you. But this way, you just come right back up on the center. My mentor, Mr. Arledge, Jimmy Arledge, he always liked turning between centers. I know some of you like the screw and all the other different ways there are to mount things. But if I'm between centers, I can always adjust. Like if I'm doing a natural edge and I don't like the way it's, or there's a certain piece of figure in the wood I want to try and capture, I can still wiggle it around when I'm between centers. And tried and true. And we're turning nice and true again. How are we doing on time? Have I burned a whole hour and a half yet? Huh? What time am I supposed to be done? 8? 8:10? I got till 8:30? Heck, I can make another one now. Pardon me? Carbide? The only thing I use carbide for is hollowing. Carbide's a scraper. If you were able to get that carbide at an angle and shear scrape with it, yeah, maybe. But if you're just straight scraping, you're gonna blow this thing up. Do you just use carbide? All of it. What am I doing? I don't want this, this can be flat. It's gonna sit on that, isn't it? Yeah, okay. It's gonna sit on that. This looks dangerous. So I'm gonna make a nice little concave part there in the bottom so I can sign it. Or where I would sign it. So it's just like a regular bowl here, except you got the stupid wings. I shouldn't say they're stupid. I will be if I go through. You got your baseball glove? You ready for 2 for 2? And the nib. Oops, oops.
Cut it off.
There. That was for you. Cut it off. So now that one, the wings are suspended and the bottom's down on the floor. So just 2 of the many variations that you can do with square turning. I love it. I mean, so in the wood turnathon last year for empty bowls, I think I did like that night, I think I did 15 of those or so. So I've been in 24-hour period, I did 52 bowls. And to begin with, I had that air system, you know, where it keeps all the dust out of your face. And man, yeah, after about 10 hours of that, that starts getting heavy on your neck. So I ended up with that one, or when everybody left me alone at 2 or 3 in the morning, forget it. I was just grinding away wood. But since they only had to be 5-inch bowls, you can make a lot of bowls in a hurry if they're small enough. Now the big bowls, and there's some that are bigger than that, but so I'll leave you these 2 for and you can make them pretty and sand them and do whatever, paint them. I don't care. Make them something neat for your empty bowls thing, and you all can have these 2 for your empty bowls. And appreciate it. Yeah, getting thumbs up for there. See, you got 2 more than you thought you had. And if there's any questions, anything, super easy. Next month, everybody brings 10 of these, right? For empty bowls. Yeah, it's easy. I mean, it's surprisingly easy. So, you know, have fun, try a few, experiment a little bit for shapes and sizes and wing dimensions and placement of the centers and everything else. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of stuff you can do with this kind of turning that, you know, is a little unusual, a little bit different. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kevin.